Hello, my name is Joshua Torres Prandi, and I will talk about Edgar Allan Poe and therefore his work, The Raven. First, I will give a summary of his life and his contributions to literature. Edgar Allan Poe, born in Boston, United States in 1889. He was a poet, narrator, and American critic. He is considered one of the best storytellers of all time. His life was not easy. He lost his parents when he barely 2 years old. He was adopted by John Allan, with whom he would experience traumatics. In 1827, he was expelled from the University of Virginia for his love of gambling and drinking. He travels to Boston and published his first book anonymously with the title of Tamerlane and Other Poems. Then he joins the army, to which he will remain for 2 years. In 1829, he published his second book of poems entitled Al-Araf. In 1831, he published his third book, Poems, and years later, he married his cousin, Virginia Clamp. He works as an editor in the Southern Baltimore Messenger newspaper, in which he published several of his stories and poems, which will become the most important newspaper in south of the country. Also, he collaborates with several magazines in Philadelphia and New York. In 1840, he published Tales of the Grotesque and Arabesque. 3 years later, he published The Golden Scarab, which was an extraordinary success, like the poetry book The Raven and Other Poems, published in 1845. The wife of Poe suffered from tuberculosis, leading to death in 1847, which caused the drug and alcohol consumptions to be aggravated by the writer. Both addictions were most likely causes the cause of the death. This unique character in 1849, who died of a stroke after being admitted to the hospital after being found unconscious in one of the streets of Baltimore. His literary works evoke genius and originality, where most take place in gothic, sinister environments, full of supernatural interventions, and in many cases they are a masterpiece of horror literature. Poe bases his style on both the oppressive atmosphere he created during the beginning and development of the story and the surprise effect of the ending. The set of the literature that Poe published was of inspiration to many. Among them, the writers Charles Beldier, Arthur Conan Doyle, Jules Verne, and H.P. Lovecraft. The Raven is one of the most outstanding poetic compositions of Edgar Allan Poe. This poem tells the story of a man who suffered the death of his beloved wife, Leonore, when he considered a virgin among the angels of God. He lives immersed in this memory and is tormented by the presence of the Raven that remind him that never more will see her again. The Black Raven, on the other hand, is described by this man as horrendous, thin, and with devilish look. He protests himself on the lintel of the narrator's door, where he torments him with the only words he can pronounce, never more. It's evident that the death of the protagonist's wife caused him much suffering and discouragement. Therefore, he begins hallucinating, including the Raven, to talk to him, when in the real life, ravens do not really speak. But the most thing about this poem is what he Raven answered, nevermore, a response that the narrator is aware of. Based on that, he asks several questions that are answered with the response he received. After first, man believes that he is being sent by God to know about his beloved. This thought changed. The man asks if he can meet her when she dies, to which the Raven answers, nevermore. It is where the man reveals himself against the Raven and begins to accuse him of false prophets, of something diabolic and evil. At the end of the poem tells us that the Raven takes possession of the soul of this man, in which response remains the same, nevermore will leave that place. All this happened in the head of the man, finally leading him to a loop of madness, from his watch can never escape. What is the theme that evoked in this writing? The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe highlights the theme of longing, the desire to be with a loved one. The narrator suffered the loss of his wife, but he was a fate that she is a better place. It also integrates the madness represented by the Raven, who torments the man by answering never more, taking him to the reality that did not want to hear, that would never see her again. It is evident that this reading touches the life of Poe, an icon that suffered from many unexpected events of his life, and that year later suffered something similar, the loss of his beloved, which led to the end of his career and his life. His works represent the dark side of life from a poetic point of view, giving the reader works of great potential. Well, that's everything. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time.